Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First things first, I want to say good evening to all of our guests this evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I also want to give a sincere gratitude and thanks to the owners of the IMAX, Paul and Ann Bluto, alongside Randy Brashear, Tom Forster, all of the administration for making this evening possible. Please, a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, I will say this. Coming out to the IMAX this evening, you are a part of a cinematic experience. For many of us that are in the theater tonight, you may be seeing Apocalypse Now for the first time. Some of you in the theater this evening, it may have been decades since you have seen Apocalypse Now. I will say this, you have never seen it like you're about to see it this evening, mastered in IMAX with laser and 12 channels of sound. How about that? An esteemed guest, he has had an opportunity to talk to local papers and also myself on the radio. I am Josh Grisham with my 100.1 KOMC. With us tonight, Academy Award-winning co-producer of Apocalypse Now Final Cut. A round of applause for Gray Frederickson. Gray, we are here tonight, sir, in Apocalypse Now. We have to go back to 1976, 40 years to the day. How are you feeling being here in Branson, Missouri, and seeing your movie in the best way possible?
We started in 74.
74. And as I understand it, sir, the war was not yet over.
Francis wanted us to fly into Vietnam, and we were trying to get air flights in. And I said, Francis, people are holding on to the helicopters being airlifted out of there. I don't want to go in there. And he tried, but fortunately we couldn't get an airline to fly us in there.
And you all had a choice at that time, really trying to get funding from the U.S. versus the Philippines. I think everybody in the audience might know the name Donald Rumsfeld. Things shifted, you guys got underway, and you were in the Philippines, but there was trouble over there as well. Most people may or may not be aware, Francis Ford Coppola, he had planned a 14-week shoot. That stretched on quite a bit. There were difficulties, especially Typhoon Olga.
I had 2 birthdays in the Philippines. I was there for almost 2 years.
And this particular movie, Gray, when it first came out, it had a budget of $31 million, as I understand, opening box office weekend just shy of $200,000. Making this particular movie, I was going to say 200 million. You adjust that for inflation, it's well north of that. Your favorite moment making this film, can you describe that for us?
The original budget was $15 million, and we doubled it. We went over budget to $30 million. My favorite moment, when I left, the day I left the Philippines.
That's the best answer, because the oppressive heat. And as we talked about on the phone, this particular movie, Typhoon Olga, it destroyed multiple sets, all kinds of gear. And when that typhoon came through, you were telling me, the cast and the crew, you were separated on multiple islands, is that correct?
Yeah, we were spread around. We were in northern Luzon Island, in Manila, south of Manila in Pakistan, and then at a place called, what's it called? Drawn a blank on where the Subic Bay, where they had, and we had crews and some cast at all those different locations, and we couldn't communicate with each other. We didn't know who had survived, who had done what. I was stuck in an apartment in Manila with the Playmates. Sounds great, doesn't it? But you don't want to be in an apartment with 5 girls with no power, no electricity, and they're angry and wet.
That sounds like an absolutely horrible experience over there. This particular film, too, some fun stats for people that may not be aware. Francis Ford Coppola, he had a heck of a time making the movie. As I understand, can you tell us about Francis's difficulties? Did he have some involvement putting up his house and his winery to help this get made?
He put up everything. When we started going over budget, they wanted us to shut down and just finish it. And he said no, and so he started signing promissory notes. And he put his house, his vineyard, his house in San Francisco, it was all on the line. He was under tremendous pressure. We all were. It was a very difficult shoot.
I tell you what, the film itself has an iconic cast. Marlon Brando, Martin Sheen, Harrison Ford before Star Wars came calling, and of course Harvey Keitel is in this. Just an epic cast.
He got booted. Harvey started out playing Colonel the Willard part, and then he didn't like it, and Francis didn't like him. So I had to go tell him that he's not going to work out. He said, "Oh, thank you. When can I leave?" And so then we replaced him with Martin Sheen.
Now you had a hard time getting some A-listers to come on board. Did you get a chance to maybe make a phone call or interact with such names as Al Pacino or Jack Nicholson? I understand they were considered for roles.
I personally went to Clint Eastwood, Steve McQueen, and Ryan O'Neal, and I was turned down by those three.
When they turned you down, were they gentle about it?
Oh, star turns you down, they turn you down.
Now, I think people here are very curious. I think everybody in the audience, and make some noise if you're familiar with it. Do you remember a scene where a shirtless Robert Duvall showed up on the beachhead there and he said, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning"? Do you remember that? Take us inside that scene. You and I had a great conversation on the radio, sir. Tell us about that scene. How was that shot?
Well, it was amazing because we had the napalm drop, and we only had one take. And we took Caterpillar diesel tractor bulldozers and dug a trench that was a mile long and filled it with thousands and thousands of gallons of gas. You couldn't do that here in America. Thousands of gallons of gasoline. And the special effects guys waited, and they heard on the radio the jets were on our way, and they saw the jets coming. And as soon as the jets came over, they threw the flares of the gasoline, and that was the fire that was going on behind Duvall. And he says, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning."
And a shot and a film was born off of that line. And also, too, I think everybody would be interested to know, between Francis Ford Coppola and Marlon Brando getting signed up for that movie and showing up, what was that experience like? And as I understand, you were the intermediary for Brando and Coppola.
Yeah, Brando and I were friends because I had done a movie with him called Candy years ago. And then on The Godfather, we bonded, became friends. Francis hated him. They didn't get along. And Francis would say, "Go tell your friend Brando." And it was pretty heated, pretty unpleasant. Because Marlon, on Godfather, we had to pad him up, put stuff in his cheeks, make him look old and fat. So we thought he was going to show up looking like a soldier. He showed up weighing 400 pounds. Francis, what am I going to do with him? How could he be a colonel in the military? So we put him in black pajamas, shaved his head, and kept him in the shadows the whole time.
And that's the Marlon Brando that we see in the movie today. This particular movie has stood the test of time, 40 years, 4 decades. Could you ever have imagined back in the 70s that the film would achieve cult icon status, but also have such a cultural significance and impact in the film industry? Could you have ever imagined at that time that it would go that far?
Yes, I thought it would. I thought it was really special. And unfortunately, Francis had a breakdown after we shot it. And so 2 years, it's lingered in editing. During that 2 years, they made Deer Hunter. And Deer Hunter came out and won an Oscar. The next year, we came out. We had made it way before Deer Hunter. But when we knew that they weren't going to give an Oscar to 2 Vietnam movies back to back, year after year. So that hurt us bad. But I knew that it was a special movie. When we were making it, I knew it was.
Great, to wrap up so we can get into the movie for everybody tonight. If you had to define it for us, a career in the 60s all the way to 2019, you are still working. If you had to sum it up for us, my friend, what is the best part of being a producer and being tied to Hollywood?
It's fun.
Simply put, directed to the point. Ladies and gentlemen, Academy Award-winning co-producer of Apocalypse Now, Gray Frederickson. It is a pleasure, Gray. I'm glad you're here in Branson. Ladies and gentlemen, please sit back, relax. Again, thanks to Paul and Ann Bluto, Randy Brashear, and Tom Forrester. Please enjoy Apocalypse Now, Final Cut.
And I have not seen this, and I've never seen it on the big screen, so this will be a treat for me.
What do you think of that big screen?
Fantastic.
Proud endorsement there, guys. Enjoy. Oh, and